What's up, and welcome back to the Rich at Heart podcast. It's been a minute. I've missed y'all, and I'm so happy that you are going to spend the next about hour and a half with us. As always. Hey, go ahead and skip through. Go ahead and skip through to whatever part is going to be subjugated to what you want to hear about. Go ahead and skip to that. Feel free. Just please comment, like, subscribe, share with others. Tell your friends, family, people at church, people at work, people on the bus, people in your car. Maybe you're an Uber driver. Tell the people who are riding in your car to listen to us. Just fucking spread the word. Come on, bro. But
I love how you covered everybody in all walks of life, so you know that we don't discriminate.
Yeah, we don't.
We love everybody.
We don't. Tall, skinny, opposite sides of that. All the peoples, we love you all. My name's Rudy. If you're new to this, so I'm Rudy.
Roman.
And I'm Sharday.
And we all welcome you. All three of us welcome you. So, it's been a little bit since we've all come together to do a podcast episode. So let's just go ahead and catch up with one another. How's everything going, guys?
It's good.
It's good.
Pretty good. We'll get into questions, but how are you?
Okay. I've been good. We were saying before we started filming, everybody just kind of has real life shit going on, and we just respect each other's real life shit. I might be doing, a project in the yard. Roman has a new baby. Rudy's going through catechism. It's just it's just crazy. Everybody's, and it's you can't even be mad at the shit. It's
right.
I can't tell a nigga not to go get his dirt today. He's got to go get his dirt today.
He's got to get his dirt.
He's got to get his dirt.
Starting a garden.
Yeah, he's starting a garden. He's got to go get his certificate from the Lord.
Right.
What do I look like being no, we got to film this shit today. So you got to be flexible. So
your backyard grass is growing. Has it been that long, or does it just grow that fast?
No, I laid some more seed down.
You're killing it.
It looks good. Hey, if you guys were to be in our group chat and see where this came to where it's at, it was like a barren wasteland. She sent us a text weeks ago, and she's like, guys, I can't film. She's like, guys, I can't film today. I got to reseed my lawn. And then she sent us pictures, and I'm like, whoa, shit. What happened? Did the heat wave hit you? Did the floods get your lawn and take it away?
The flood, it was the COVID, it was the sun, it was just all kinds of stuff. But they're right. So, I took some time. I reseeded my backyard. It's just been paying attention and giving it some TLC. And now there's full-ass grass back there.
The recent
Even the dogs are
they're like,
they look
walking, they look back at you damn, this is nice. Where'd you get this at?
I said, this is nice. They don't even want to come inside anymore.
Yeah. They want to stay outside now.
But I would rather them roll in grass than the black one he used to roll in the dirt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the house.
Yes. So that was a hot ass.
It is a pretty amazing transformation though. It should be on before and after pictures.
I might post some maybe on Instagram. So you too can grow
it's
grass.
It's worth it. Because I was even telling Roman after I seen that, because he's had some spots in his lawn, and I was like, see, you need to get the shit she got, because the shit you're using ain't working.
What'd you get? We could talk after.
I got but I need that Scott's or something. So.
Oh yeah, I just got regular ass Scott's.
Regular ass Scott's.
Regular ass Scott's. And topsoil.
There you go, see? But it was amazing.
What's you, Rome?
Like you said, a baby. He just wants to be held and fed and walk around. He thinks he's a big kid already, and he's only 3 months. So
I know. Yeah, I was gonna say, how old is he now?
But he's growing. His weight is up there. He was preemie, but his weight is up. His weight is up there, so everything's so good so far. He's just
he looks good. And I always thought about my kids weren't preemies, but I always known preemie parents. And they still kind of parents of preemie kids, and they would think they'd keep having that mentality that their kid's a preemie, and the motherfucker's 6 years old. I'm at their 6th birthday party, and he was a preemie, and I'm like, he's 6 years old,
but he's taller than all the other kids.
Yeah, he's not a preemie no more. But it's a mentality type thing. I mean, he's a healthy baby now. He looks great. He's growing just like a baby should. He's doing baby things, hashtag baby.
Hashtag baby things.
I'm still I don't know about the vaccines and stuff like that. It's in the back of my head, like, should I do this many vaccines and he's preemie? Because like after like his first vaccination, like he got kind of a little spaced out a couple weeks after, and I was like, is this probably a cause of it? But we gave him extra attention, and now he's like good tracking again and stuff like that.
I just feel like you just have to go down the list of like ailments and diseases, right? Like which ones, if they were to come back, would be like catastrophic, right? And my best friend's like that too. Like she's trying to figure out like which ones do they need? Like, and I'm not a parent or a doctor, but I do feel like the human body is like amazing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so, and like my grandma, she has like this big ass like indent in her arm from like the vaccinations, like how they used to give them to them back in the day, right?
Okay.
Like it was like almost like they took some of their skin out.
Like straight up ripped it out. Yeah.
And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, but she ain't never had none of that shit. Like whatever.
Right, whatever they got the vaccine
tuberculosis,
for.
The shingles, all the stuff. So
what we're saying is vaccines work.
Or
promotional by Pfizer.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
We didn't say that.
I guess with the money, but no, because they could be like, oh, it's because you got vaccinated, but you probably didn't get any of that stuff anyways if you didn't get vaccinated. But
right. They're linking vaccinations to all kinds of stuff like autism and developmental delays and all this other stuff, but it's just like, how do you know? And then you just have to figure out like where do you live, like, right? Like how do you live, like where do you live, like are these things like would you come in contact with these things? So like it's I'm not a parent, but it's just I dread the day like I have to like make that decision. So like I tell my best friend all the time, I have no idea. I don't know. But
we aren't like out there all crazy with people who just have diseases or something. So it's but
monkeypox is crazy though. Like if you get that one,
just get that one.
People just randomly have that. Like
not here. I don't think there's many monkeypox cases here.
But do you guys feel like people are more like afraid of getting the vaccines than they are getting the actual disease? Like I feel like okay. Let's just take it. This is where I'm going with this, right? Like, I was talking to a friend recently, a couple weeks ago, okay? And he's newly single. He's living his best life right now. Ooh. He's out there doing his thing. And he's like, he was telling me about these girls he's been encountering with, right? And having like sexual encounters with. And I'm like, dang, okay. And he's like, guys share pictures.
Right now.
They share pictures. They like, this and that. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, bro, you're doing pretty good for yourself right now. Like, good job. And I'm like, well, are you like, you're going girl to girl. Like, are you taking care of yourself? Nah, bro. Like, what the fuck? Like, so you're just okay with getting the disease, and this and that. And he's like, oh, I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, they're clean. You don't know. You do not know this. Like, you don't know.
Look clean.
And like the same thing. No. It's the same thing. Okay. Because you're going out there unvaccinated into the world. One big, like Tony Montana said, one big pussy. Just waiting to be fucked, right? You're going out to one big pussy out there. One big, whatever you want to, it could be one big dick too. I don't want to discriminate. But, and you're just living like without a condom. You're basically not being vaccinated. You're just walking around as an unprotected dick. Going into the world, basically. And you're just like, whatever, I'm just going to catch whatever.
I don't feel like that's new, though. I feel like that's just like how the AIDS epidemic started. Like, Magic Johnson, like everybody just like assumed it was like a gay person's thing.
Yeah,
right? Like a gay person's disease. But many straight people have it too because you develop a level of trust for the person that you're with. You think you're the only one. Like the person's a smooth talker. Like, and like, I don't even like, that's not even your fault, or not. That's not their fault, right? Like you have a level of autonomy over yourself to be like, I'm not going to do this. But like, it's like I wasn't thinking. It just got like out of control. And it's like, well, bitch, now you got some shit you can
do. Yeah. Now you're stuck. Which is,
I mean, there's very few things that we can't get rid of anymore, but. Monkeypox, we don't.
Yeah, back to monkeypox. Yeah. So that's what I'm just saying. Like, vaccines. To me, it's just like a condom for the fucking inside, like the body. Like, just put it on. An internal Better condom. Safe than sorry. Internal condom. Hashtag.
I don't know. I see too many documentaries, and I have like a certain conspiracy stuff that I see, and it makes so much sense. But we don't need to go there. But I mean, look.
But if they did make a fucking vaccine for gonorrhea and chlamydia. every motherfucker would be in line for that.
Yeah.
The line would be like longer than when Popeyes released that chicken sandwich.
But they don't have those vaccines because they want people to
they want to make money off of
exactly.
I feel you.
Yeah. So
that's our healthcare.
Yeah.
That's it's American healthcare.
It's business.
Yeah. That could be like another episode of like all of our conspiracy theories.
I would love it.
That makes sense. Right? Because like someone was like, what the fuck? Like,
you like listen to him like, come on now.
Okay, so you just got your confirmation?
Yeah, just got my holy confirmation.
You know a little bit about pharmakia, right?
Yes.
In the Bible or whatever, like pharmacy and pharmakia. Yeah. Do you know the Baphomet, scene, where he has the goat head and like the
woman body
boobs?
Is that what Black China just got
yes.
from her?
Exactly.
Yeah, Baphomet tattoo.
So on the stomach,
that's a Catholic thing?
No.
It's just like a. So, it's a
pharmakia is witchcraft, but they talk about it in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And then but the Baphomet, what Black China had, it has the staff with the two serpents and the wings, and they have that in medical buildings and stuff like that.
They do.
Oh
Yep. So there's something to it. That's all I gotta say.
we're gonna go down this rabbit hole. We're going down this rabbit hole.
And part of my degree is in health administration. I see that shit all the time, but now.
If you look, if you were to look at the tattoo before it's removed and see the staff that he's holding, it has that same symbology that we see on like our medical insignias and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, American healthcare is fucked.
Right.
Like, I spent 2 weeks, I think we talked about this, like, just figuring out, like, my bill, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, I heard this, like, this podcast I was talking about, like, because I have uterine fibroids. There's this other procedure that's completely, like, ultrasound. Like, they don't even have to cut you open, like, you leave with a Band-Aid. Yeah. They never even, UFE or I can't remember what it's called at this moment, but anyway, like, you leave with a Band-Aid. Like, there's no anesthesia. Like, they going through, like, an artery in your leg or your arm or something.
You're just awake.
Yeah, you're just awake.
The fuck?
And it's just it's a radiology, basically, like, right? So you don't have to go to sleep. It's not surgery. They don't tell you about it because it's not surgery, and providers don't make money unless they're performing surgery, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's a resonance frequency that if you hit the right, whatever it is, cancer or fibroid, whatever, it'll burst.
A mass,
yeah, exactly. So, like, I'm sure.
So I'm just like, dang. So so this is another thing, right? So I go into my doctor's office for my 6-month follow-up because I had my surgery in November. So I had a myomectomy in 2 years ago in August. And then I have another surgery. It's called an Acessa. And apparently, like, it's great. Like, it's, it's less invasive. Like, we're not going to have to cut your uterus open. Like, all this stuff. And I'm like, perfect. And that's on me, too. Like, right? I should have done, like, more research. Right. Like, so I'm not, like, completely blaming the doctor. But, like, this other procedure wasn't even presented to me, right? And so it was like, okay. So I had this other procedure. So, like, 6 months down the line, basically they ablated it. So they went in, they burned it, right? So they're cutting off the blood supply because fibroids feed off of blood supply and estrogen. So we can change a lot of that with our foods. They don't tell you that either. When you start telling them that, they're like, no, like, that's not a thing.
Pseudoscience.
Right. Yeah. And so, like, my 6-month follow-up, I go in and I'm telling her about this. She was just like, I don't know. I'm not really like familiar with that, right? And, like, this procedure is, like, very common in the South, like, right? Because there's more Black women concentrated there. Right. Black women are affected by fibroids, like 80%.
Remind me to go to the South.
Right? Yeah, go to the South. That's where the Black women are that can't find Black men. Anyway, because they're gay. But anyway, so, damn, I was broad.
Atlanta.
I know, Atlanta, they're hella gay.
Oh,
anyway.
No, I'm like black and beautiful.
That too. Right. But anyway, so, like, this procedure wasn't even presented to me. And so I'm, like, telling her about it, and she was like, yeah, we don't know the statistics for that, or their numbers or whatever, but she's a surgeon. So, like, it's not in her best interest to like know anything about that. Yeah. Or if she does, it's not in her best interest to, like, tell her patients about that. Right. But, like, I feel like she's shooting herself in the foot because, like, she can also gain so many more clients that are that are, you know, wanting to preserve their uterus, because that's what I'm trying to do is preserve my uterus. Right. Where back in the day, there was like, get rid of your uterus. You don't need it. You definitely need your uterus. Right. It's for women, it's very valuable. Yep. So they're just like, throw it out. Like they don't need it. So she's kind of shooting herself in the foot by not like taking this extra step and like learning this, like this new procedure that could be less invasive to her patients and give them more, you know, a higher success rate of birth and things like that in her patients of color. So anyway, so like now I know about that. So I had to go get an ultrasound 2 weeks ago. So I'm laying there and it's so uncomfortable. Like you guys are so lucky, right? Like I haven't had a baby, but I've had a transvaginal ultrasound. Like I don't know if y'all don't have vaginal canals, right? So like they stick this thing that's like this long in you, and they're just like pushing around. They're like, whoa, tilt up, tilt down. Like they're just like putting this thing. And like you would think it's like a whole ass like porno situation. It's not. It's not comfortable at all. Like it's just painful. Like they're just like, okay, can you like move to the right? Can you like lift up? Like but like and like just stay lifted up. They're like, okay, now you can relax. And it's just like, damn, I gotta like my stomach muscles don't even work that way. But like they're trying to see like if it's shrunk or not, if like the procedure worked. Yeah. And so I'm just like looking right at like what she's looking at on the screen because like we can all see it. And like she's measuring it and the tech is doing all this. I'm like, that don't look a little smaller than when I came in. Like, right? And I'm just like, what was all this for? Yeah. Like, right? And I'm like already in my 30s. I'm just like, okay, like I need to figure something out. And anyway, so I'm waiting for like them to dictate the results. And then they shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, I love it, but by giving us access to our own medical records, right? Right. Like that's that I think that's like one thing that I do appreciate that the medical system has
we can
evolved in.
Which
so like we
did the Freedom of Information Act to have that.
Right.
Exactly. Right. So like we can like before it's even dictated and before like my doctor even calls me, I have that in my medical records. So I can see it. Like, and I'm not a doctor, I can't, but I know numbers, like, right? Like, you know what I mean? So comparing from this one to this one, it had like this, you know, this has happened or whatever. So I don't really need the doctor to call me to tell me, like, you know what I mean? And the, you know, the radiologist is pretty thorough on his, like, whatever. So it's just like, our healthcare system is kind of fucked. It's really fucked.
And I even think there's conspiracy about removing the uterus of, you know, how you said it's prevalent in black women.
Yeah, because what do they do with it? Like, what do they do with that? They do something with it.
They probably eat it, and then they probably has some regenerative properties. Right? Something.
It literally gives life. Like, it's literally where life comes from.
Well, Henrietta Lacks, right? I don't know if we talked about that here, but Henrietta Lacks, she had a form of cervical cancer. She's a black woman. It kept, like her cells kept reproducing and regenerating. They had never seen that. They had never seen that. So they kept her cells to do research, but her family never knew that. They kept her,
so it's undisclosed.
Her cells. Yeah. Wow. They never knew. Like, so now even at the Huntsman's, at the Cancer Institutes, her cells live today. And her family was never made privy to that information because they had never seen the cells reproduce the way that they were with her type of cancer. She ended up dying, and it was again reproductive based. But so and her cells have been contributed to cures, right? Like cancer cures, right?
And they don't benefit.
And they don't benefit. So like her family finally figured out because they put her information under another name. So they didn't know that it was her, but like, you know, 2 and 2 started adding up and they're like, this was, you know, our grandma or like whatever. And so now like the family's able to like make an argument saying like this is our family member.
Rightfully so.
Cells and her anatomy that's being, but her anatomy again has been contributed to cures of cancer, like figuring out. So that's another thing, like, you know, black and brown bodies have been for centuries, but like before we even started talking, like you can't. There's only so far back like you can go, right? For us to know.
Yeah.
But we've been used for research, like right. And so anyway, it's just like this big thing. So like, part of my background is in health admin, and I know that that Black bodies have been used to remedy America, right? To remedy America or to not, right? They're like, oh, like we could do this with it, but like we're not going to send that information out. So yeah.
I also heard they're using those cells to like reproduce like cloned meat and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Grow faster and
from
and stuff. So,
that same set of cells. That's so crazy.
It's crazy what they do. Like,
if you get like deep into it, you're just like, I'm a vegan, but vegans are also not.
Can't do it. I recently seen a study from I think it was Utah State University. I know it was a local study, but they had found that people who are on a plant-based diet aren't getting enough of a certain vitamin. I think it's vitamin B or vitamin D, one of the two. But they're not getting a certain element, and they're getting sick faster. So they're more prone to getting like really bad sicknesses than people who eat meats, because meat has a certain amount of that particular vitamin.
Yeah, maybe so. Like, have you ever seen people who like go to steakhouses regularly and who are like
Alex Jones? I'm just
like wealthy people.
The conspiracist.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But no, this is just a visual thing. If you ever see like a good steakhouse food review or something, for people who eat there, like, you know, they're regulars.
Yeah.
But they are like balding and stuff like that. And like they look kind of zombie-ish or something like that. Like, I'm...
Okay, my counter argument to that...
But also, Chris, and then they look like that.
Yeah, if you're like a regular...
Maybe
like,
they're getting too much bread, like the bread baskets.
Eat nothing but bread, because it's filled with like nitrates and stuff like that, and there's a whole different thing. Okay. But anyways...
my counter argument...
People who study and who do these studies, not all of them, but like they work for the industries, or the industries give them grants and stuff like that to put out positive studies of... companies and stuff like that.
Well, that's true. And like the whole, that just reminded me, like the whole, bacon and eggs, like an American breakfast staple, right? Yeah. Bacon and eggs. Delicious. I love it too. I love it too.
I prefer sausage and eggs, but whatever. Bacon
I like, sausage is good too. Yeah, but whatever. Anyways, what I was trying, so bacon and eggs was made, like they gave it the stamp of approval for a healthy breakfast, because at the time, I can't remember what exact years. Yeah, back in the day, the bacon company weren't selling enough bacon, okay? And a particular owner of like a bacon conglomerate had a friend who was a doctor who happened to just get paid to sign off on, hey, bacon is very good for you. Have it with your breakfast. And eggs were already the breakfast staple in America. So then they just paired the two together. But then now, like after that, the cases of, you know, congestive arteries and like
heart failure,
and plaque and stuff like that went way up because they did this. And he was a doctor, but he didn't do research. He just like had a friend that was like, hey, can you please say bacon is good? I need to sell all this bacon. Nobody's buying bacon.
At a point,
and
bacon
boom.
wasn't bad, right?
Yeah.
At a point, like when our grandparents were growing up, like bacon didn't like, or like our hogs and our pork didn't have all this extra shit in it, right? So like that's why we have, my grandma's 82, right? They didn't have all this shit in their food that we do now.
They had real food.
Like it was real food. The pigs were fed real food, like, you know what I mean? So it wasn't detrimental to our health, right? But now...
And they were eating it all the time, too.
Right, and they weren't eating it all the time. Well, black folk were eating it all the time. Like, we're eating a lot of pork and kind of like slop at the time, because like that's what we were, like that's what we had availability to, right? But at the same, but it was okay because it wasn't, there wasn't GMOs, it wasn't injected with hormones, like it was
all these chemicals to preserve it.
It was natural, like right? So like they were able to
produce, and they're like crawling in their own
right,
yeah. Oh my God, I watched, you know, we all saw What the Health. After that, I was like, what the hell? I was like, Jesus Christ, like I can't eat that. Like, and I love animals, and I mean, I ate bacon this morning, but
they are tasty.
R.I.P. But like, you know what I mean? But like our grandparents, like it wasn't the same. So people were like, well, y'all ate like this. Like, well, it's not the same kind of food anymore. Like it's not this. And even like, okay, so like my friend's daughter, she's 10 or 11. So she just got her period, right? And that's like an attribution to the food, like the hormones are so much different. Are so much different. Like we see like 12 to 16-year-olds that look like 18 to 21-year-olds. Like,
because the
we don't
hormones
look
in the
like
food.
that. Like,
I think that's designed. Or not?
Yes,
I think so too.
It's
a rabbit hole because
we're
pedophiles.
We are we're a country who not communist, like what's that?
Capitalist,
yes. Right? Yep. We're a capitalist country. Like we want to make the most bang for our buck. So like we're gonna do what we can do to mass produce things to like make money. Yeah. So that's where the GMOs, the food, that's where it comes. Like we're gonna be like, okay, like what can we do to make more of this? So like more people can,
and more sales.
to buy it, right? And that radiates through our young girls, right? And these hormones, because like that's what women are. Right. That's what we thrive off of is estrogen and hormones. Like we're getting an abundance of that. So at 10 years old, 11 years old, we have a full-on chest. Like we're getting our menstrual cycles. It's because of the food that we're eating. Like, you know, and I know that like. And I got my period like in 5th grade too. So like that's like also like in some of it's genetics too, right? Your like fibroids are genetic too. Like my grandma had them, my aunt had them, like probably before them had them. So like I just was kind of like doomed to have them, like right. But like I got my period in 5th grade. I remember I went to Lincoln Elementary. My grandma lived on Lockwood, right here. Called my grandma. She put me downstairs and she called everybody. I was like, she got her period.
Called
and I was
everybody.
like, the fuck? Like, I am traumatized. Y'all told me shit about fuck about this. Like, and why y'all telling people in Arkansas about my period? Like, I'm trying not to bleed all over the house. Like,
do you think
I'm trying to bleed out
or something? Like,
yes.
What is the thought?
Because like we didn't talk about my period. Like, you know, my friend now talks about her, talks to her daughter about her periods, and so she's like, oh, Mom, I got my period. Me, I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm bleeding out.
What is going on?
Like, I laid on the floor, so my grandma made me a pallet, like, you know, we call them pallets on the floor. She was like, just go sleep, baby, just watch TV, like, you're gonna be okay. I'm like, great. So wake up in a pool of blood.
Oh,
like, you know how traumatizing that is?
That's
like,
crazy.
that's traumatizing.
Writing
but like,
last will and testament to fan.
I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fucking die.
One of those fancy pens that we used to have back in the day, like, with the multiple colors. She's like, one sentence in purple.
Everybody has like a different, everybody has a different color. But like, no, like when we were growing up, they were just like, you're a woman now, baby.
Right.
Bitch,
what the
fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? I'm bleeding out. Like there's a pool of blood around me. Like I'm bleeding. Like
help me.
And so, but now,
find your own help.
Yeah. She's like, oh, you ain't gonna die. I'm like, well, I feel like it because you're tired, you're fatigued. So anyway, my friend's kid, like she has the tools to tell her, and like get her the things that she needs. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's just, so like it's a testament to like how the food has been like evolving since like we were children. So like imagine like now, like so anyway.
That's so crazy because like I think about that shit all the time too because I've seen documentaries about like before processed foods and all this stuff like that and how cases of certain diseases, cases of like male pattern baldness, like you were saying, but also like even obesity and men growing man titties and shit like that, all is attributed to the hormones they're putting in foods and processed foods and all this stuff. And then now that I'm getting into my late 30s, mid 30s, whatever you want to call it, it's like, damn, like those diseases are around the corner. Like I've got to be able to change my lifestyle, in accordance to like what my genetic history is. And I'm weird like that. Like, I'll think about that. Like, okay, grandpa had this, grandma had that, dad had this, mom had that, uncle has this. So I need to prepare myself to change my life to prevent this from being a problem in my life, right?
That's one thing that I know that the doctor's office is like maybe do that might be like helpful. Like what's your family history? Right. Because like that's indicative of like what your like future looks like.
Right.
But okay, I'm gonna go back to something y'all said or you said. Milk pattern baldness. Like, how do men really feel about that? Because like now we're getting into the age of like implants,
right?
And you know, men are getting more cosmetic surgery, like we talked before.
The hair unit. Are you okay with the hair unit or no?
Am I okay with it?
The hair.
Or you know how they shave the hair balls and then they put a
like fake hair
hairline.
Yeah,
but it's fake.
I feel like I'm more, and I don't want to discriminate, but I feel like me personally, like it's more of like, okay, like if you do the implantation situation, like where it's like you're doing the injectables and you're doing the implantation in the certain areas. We don't know what that was.
The CIA.
But they're like, we got something. And that's another thing. Our fucking phones are listening to us. But so anyway, like I feel like if you put a whole unit on your head, like no. Like,
like just,
for a man, like I date women and I date men occasionally, but if I knew a man had a whole ass unit on his head, like I can't fucking like I said, I dated this guy. He was a few years older than me, like 8 years older than me, so he's like in his 40s, and like he just has this like little cute patch of hair, like
a little cute patch,
like a little cute patch, and this is like. Yo, like, why don't you just get rid of it?
Just shave it.
Like, shave it off.
That's
like,
my thing, too.
Be bald.
Yeah. Like,
but he was, like, holding on to it for dear life.
This last chance he has of it.
And well, you know what?
I
don't know. Like, me.
It's sexy. It don't get wet. Like, it don't, like,
it's there. It's visible.
There. You're just, like, looking at it. You're just, like...
Well, if the hair unit was good enough to fool a woman or something like that, who's to say like
for how long though? For how long though?
He had a hat on.
She'll know the lie.
He had a hat,
like that,
and then the
but he'll fool everybody else.
Yeah,
it's like it's kind of
like I don't know. It's a thing. There's I see a lot of people that like I went to school with. A lot of people that I've worked with for a long time, and they, you know, they're losing their hair. You see it. It's like an undisclosed thing with men. Men are weird that way. They don't want to talk about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I've always said, like, look, I've always had a high hairline. I've always had like a high hairline. I'm like The Rock, like Dwayne Johnson.
What's
he always
high
had
hairline?
I feel like I have like, you know, like I just got a high hairline. Like Roman's is like crisp.
But high or high? Like
yeah, like high. I got a high hairline.
I really don't know what that means. Like, man,
do you see?
I really.
My insecurity?
No,
I don't know what that means in man speak.
I don't know, like I don't know, like. When you think about guys talk about like a crispy hairline, it's like I'm trying to think of who has a crispy hairline. Yeah, who has a crispy hairline? We could think like everybody would know. Who's it?
Like Michael B. Jordan or something?
Michael B. Jordan, Drake, like they have good hairlines. Yeah. Like you know what I mean? Yeah. Ludacris has like those are good hairlines. I've always had the Dwayne The Rock Johnson type hairline, right?
Look at like Dwayne. Look
the little
yeah.
But he shaved his shit off. He just straight up said, you know what, fuck it, and that's how I feel like. If he gets a little bit more back, I've rocked bald. I look good bald. I've done the bald look.
I've never seen you bald.
Really?
Let's do that right now.
I've done bald a lot. More than more than once.
A couple good pictures, but sometimes it's just kind of strange. I don't know. Sometimes it's good.
But I'm okay with being bald. That's the thing.
You could
like,
pull it off.
There's a lot of guys out there who are holding on so tight to that hair.
Yeah, I never have.
I've never seen him bald. Well, he's had like short fades. When it was like the thing back in the early 2000s.
Short fade low at Marshall White. It's like I hate when white people have.
Oh, she was talking.
Yeah, I hate when white people have short hair. Or
so how many times in your life has Lowe's side of the family thought you were white?
Every time, still to this day.
I feel like people don't ever know what Roman is.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh, like. He's Mexican.
Right.
Yeah. They're like, are you he's Mexican?
So like, funny because I do remember that because I do remember that because I was there. To my knowledge.
And to the best of his. Like we don't.
It's the best of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you never been completely bald, but you had like the short fade. Short, yeah, the short like.
I think you got to be thicker to pull it off though. Like I think you gotta be like more.
Oh, like so
more
thicker
and pull it forward.
I brush it down.
Okay.
But
you find what works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You do, cause like.
But I feel like my face is getting longer, so like the hair stays up, but
I think it's all in your head.
Goes down.
Your face is growing.
I think
your face is growing.
I think old people, when they get older, their skull grows and their face gets bigger and longer.
You stop growing.
Yeah.
No, you stop growing.
No, you don't.
Your skull grows when you grow.
Your ears never stop growing.
Yeah, but that's cartilage though. That's not bones.
So
like,
if you were
you are not growing anymore.
If you were to dig up, well, gravity. Think of gravity where it pulls it down.
Right.
So you don't have to think of it as growing. But if you were to dig up like an archaeologist or something like that in Egypt, they could tell a full-grown man's skull versus someone younger.
Yeah, because somebody stops growing at one point.
No, but even if they're 20, whatever it is, 26, 27, they could tell what age.
No, that makes sense because gravity takes pull of all of us in different. Like for men, it might be in your chin, right? For women, it's in our titties, right? It's in our titties,
right?
There are bellies. Like that's why I tell Roman, like, there's one fucking episode, right, that I just like watched back, and I was just like, is he mad at me?
No.
He knows. Like,
so for this episode, I got her from up here.
Yeah, just like, I was like right here. I was like, I'm trying to get it better, but goddamn, like, goddamn. But then gravity takes hold, okay? I was like, why would you get all that? Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, I feel like, gravity takes hold.
Yep.
And so, like, that makes sense. And for us, like, maybe it's in our faces a little. For men, it's a little bit different than for women. It's in different places that we focus on for women, for men and women. For men, gravity might be this way on their heads, right? For women, it might be this way on our chest. But I just feel like it's like a confidence thing, right?
Oh,
like,
it is.
If like a man is just like holding on to his hair for dear life because he thinks that we can't see what is happening.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do it for us.
Just take it off.
Yeah, don't do it for us. Yeah, just get rid of it because like no.
Does he have a shot either way though? Like if you was to take it off, like he's probably just like, oh, I'm doing this for me because like I'm holding on to it because I want my hair.
Then be alone.
Shave it off.
Like,
but if he shaved it, he probably still wouldn't even have a chance. I don't think.
With what?
With another woman.
There's women out there.
Because
you go for the women. Yeah, you go for the women.
Better.
You just go for the women that go for you. That's it.
I've heard that. Like I'm gonna go for who likes me.
Whoever likes him is gonna like him. But
no, for me, for like in this particular situation, he was like a great guy all around. Like he was hardworking. Like he was like a good dad. He had like a good career. Like he could cook. Like all of this like great stuff. Like right, but like when he took his hat off,
yeah, the little patch.
I was like, nigga, why?
Yeah.
Like, just take it off.
Shave it.
Like, just shave it off.
Shave it.
And, like, we could get some shit going.
Yeah.
But, like, looking at that.
Right.
Like, he had bangs. Like, right here, he had bangs. And I was like, no.
Just go ahead and get rid of it.
Yeah,
just get the hair unit.
Just go ahead and get rid of it.
The double standard, if girls could do it, he could get a hair unit.
Not a unit, nigga. Like, there's just... And I'm not one of them women who are like, men and women are created equal. Right. Like,
true.
I don't... To an extent, I believe that, but when it comes to like aesthetics, like that's fucking weird. Like, don't get a fucking hair unit.
It's lying.
It's hella lying. Like this is a unit for me, right? Like I threw this shit on, I just flicked this shit back. Like this is a unit, right? Yeah. But I also know that like when I take this off, I got hair. Like,
at the end of the day,
I can do other shit with it. But for men, I think they're just like, well, this is it.
I gotta hold on to it.
There's no other. And it's so funny that you referenced The Rock because he was on the Pivot podcast. Like,
yes, and I watched that episode. Oh my god! Well, not all of it, but I watched most of it.
Oh my god, that's like one of my favorite podcasts. And they were just like, and they were talking to him about like his face, and I think it was Chan. Chan was like, "So how are you gonna like keep this like this 25-year-old body with this like 50-year-old face?" And he was like, "What?" And The Rock was like offended. He was like, "What do you mean this 50-year-old face?" But like in his face, like you can tell he's aging, like right. But his body, like he's yoked. Like The Rock can get it.
He works
all
out
day,
daily,
right?
Like he dedicates himself. Yeah.
Chan was just like, how you gonna like keep up this 25-year-old body
with a 50-year-old
face? And like they were just like cracking up, and they were just like talking about like his mixed race heritage. Like his dad is black and his dad is a black, not Indonesian.
I thought he was black.
No, he is black, but like it's a different like continent of black. Like he's black from a different continent.
Okay.
And then his mom is like Samoan, like right. So there was like, how did you grow up? Like, you know what I mean? Like, did people like question like what you were? And he's like, I lived in a trailer park. He's like, I was like this skin tone with an afro. He's like, yes, people ask me. He's like, I'm half this and I'm half that. And so anyway, it's just like an interesting like concept of like your kids are mixed race, like your kids are mixed race, like right. So like, and like again, Roman low key looks like he could be an Asian American of some sort. So like, you know, seeing him and his partner together, they're just like maybe like an Asian American couple, like right? Like I don't feel like people like, how do you like, have you like had to deal with that? People like not like believing or like understanding that you're like Mexican American.
Yeah, like well, for instance, I went to Santos's barbecue. Like
recently.
You didn't invite me.
No, he invited everybody.
It was a big thing.
Anyways, I was eating with his family and like his
I was hella down. He hella covered for him.
His uncle is like, you know, super Mexican, like dark skinned, and then but he's like, no, tell your family you're eating with Mexicans. I'm like, I am Mexican, but you know, obviously not like that Mexican. Right. But
you can't say that.
Yeah.
Can't say that.
I was like, my brother's darker than he is.
Yeah.
but
he's like, my brother's damn near black.
It's like, no, they're about the same. They are about the same. But anyways, I don't know. It was a big deal to me in middle school, you know, trying to prove being Mexican and stuff like that. But I got over it. Yeah. So I just want to be who I am. But I want to ask you, because what features do you want your baby to have? Because like my kids, thankfully they came out. I don't know. I like Asian eyes, you know, the shape, and they have those like shapes.
They do look Asian.
I think it's good. So yeah, what do you want?
Babies
your
are hella
kids?
Asian. So that's interesting. So again, like if I didn't know you and like your background, I'd be like, yeah, he's some kind of Asian from like some type of, you know, like that makes sense to me.
When I was in Korea, when I went to Korea, we wore the traditional like in the temple garments, whatever. And
Buddhist temple.
Yeah, kind of. It was more of a I don't know what it's called, like a town square or something.
Oh, okay.
It was like the old school.
Yeah.
You know, where they have the emperor. But anyways, I dressed in the garment, and I think I looked pretty
authentic. Yeah. Like nobody questioned you. Yeah. Anyways, like I wouldn't question him. So anyway, that's funny that you say that because my partner, my current partner my current girlfriend, she doesn't like partner because she's like, well, we're not like integrated, like we're not sharing things yet. So anyway, my current girlfriend, right?
It's pretty specific.
She's from Tonga. And so she was saying that, and she's a returned LDS missionary, right? So like her sister was feeding missionaries, right? So like they feed missionaries because like, you know, they just out there trying to, you know, survive out there. And sometimes I see them struggling out there on their bikes. I'm like, this is crazy. It's hot. But anyway, so she was like giving them food or whatever. And so she was saying like, my partner was saying like, oh, they're good looking. She was just like, oh, like, and her sister was like, you should tell Sade, like, you know, you guys should have a baby with them. And she was like, yeah, Sade would never. Like, they're white. Like, you know, I'm like, well, damn, like, is that what I portrayed to you? Like, that I would never, like, but, like, once I think about it, like, if I had my preference, like, I don't want to have a biracial child. For me, like, just, like, growing up in the way that I did, like, and just my life evolving over the time and being almost 35, like, I do want a baby that looks like me, because I feel like we're kind of dying. And then, like, also, like, for some people, like, we're kind of sought after. Like, so if we all, like, die out, and everybody's mixed race, like...
Well, you do know there's, like, 2 billion Africans.
Yeah, I mean, that's not enough. And so... She's like, she's like, my girlfriend would never, like, have a baby with a white man. So, like, answering your question, like, what do I want my babies to look like? I want them to look like me.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. And if you, you guys have seen her, she's, like, a darker skinned, like, Tongan person, like, right? And her brothers, like, are darker skinned. like, well, she's got like 4 of them or 5 brothers. So like they're very dark skinned. So I'm just like, okay, like if I were to have kids with you, like they would like look similar to me, like right. Yep. But like for me, I don't know, like if this is terrible to see, like if it's gonna come back and get me in my later like endeavors, but. Like I want babies that look like me. Yeah. And I don't think that's like wrong to say.
No, everybody wants to see themselves in their kids.
Like I don't like my niece is mixed race, which is she's beautiful. She got hair. Like she got our hair. Like you know what I mean? Like even like Mia, like right? Like you can tell she's black of some sorts. And I don't know like how that makes you all feel to like have to like have them differentiate, like, oh, I'm black, I'm Mexican, I'm this, and like, you know what I mean? I think it's hard for mixed race kids also. Yeah. And I don't want to put that on my children also, like, either to, like, have them have to, like, explain
the whole identity thing.
The identity thing and, like, where they come from, like, I'm this and I'm that. Because, like, I didn't ever have to do that. Like, I'm black. Like, I'm blackity black. Like, I got the kinky coils that people don't want. Like, I got the darker skin. Like, I've had boys not want to date me because, like, I'm too dark. But, like, well, you're pretty. But, like, for dark, like, all that stuff. Like, but I want my kids to look like me. Yeah. As close as like me as possible. And so that comes to, like, the brat, right? The brat is down near 50 or like having a baby. Yeah. And so her and her partner, oh my God. I can't think of her partner.
Do they share things though? Are they girlfriends or are they partners?
No, they're wives. No. They're wives.
Yeah. So they're partners.
So they're married.
So wife is a partner.
They're married.
Okay.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't even think of her name right now.
I can't either.
Dupart. I buy her edge control because, like, look, as a black woman, you can't have your edges like out of like. If you ain't got edges as a black woman, you ain't gonna be respected. Like these are my edges. Like I can flick them back. Like right, ask Lauren. Like, if you ain't got edges, you ain't shit. So anyway, so they're a lesbian couple. So they went to the sperm bank, right? And they were trying to find donors. Of course, they wanted a donor that was black that looked like them, but come to find out, and I knew this before, but for this story in particular, black donors don't really exist. Like black don't like there's very little. Yeah. There's black men are not donating their sperm. Right. Like white men, like through a clinic. Latino men, through a clinic, right? They're just like, they'll do it for free out in the street. So like, no, for real. I'm just like, well, I can ask.
Same with Latinos,
right? Like, so I have some in my back pocket to like where if it gets really desperate, sperm.
Just in the purse.
Right, in my purse.
In the purse pocket.
I mean, I ain't got it, but like I could get it. Yeah. Like if like shit gets really crazy and like I can't find black sperm donors. I got some niggas I can ask. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look, you ain't got to do shit. Like, you can do paperwork. I just want this baby to be a nigga. Like, you know what I mean? And there's like a whole controversy about the word nigga, but like, I'm going to use it. Anyway, and so they went with a white sperm donor, right? Because, and like, I don't know if you guys heard the story, but so they said like they went through all the profiles because they seen pictures and background and everything, but the brat, like, on her show, she had said, like, you know, the black donors, like, they look like Jiminy Cricket.
Oh my God. Because they're supposed to be, like, they're supposed to have a degree or something like that, right? Like,
I don't know. They wanted to have a degree, but also...
or something like that, so, like, they're a different type of... Yeah.
I feel like people care even less about the degree part, like, about the intelligent part. They want to know, what the fuck is my baby going to look like? Exactly. Right? So they were just like... These black men were not desirable, right? Okay. So they opted for a white man, right? Isn't that fucked up?
Why didn't they just get somebody that they knew, or the brat could get
anybody?
Yeah, a lot.
Why don't she just call one of her friends, like call Bow Wow, call
Dupree,
call Dre, call somebody, be like, hey, look, do me a solid. Hey, you remember that hit? Call Ludacris, call somebody, be like, look, come on, bro, I just need a baby. Somebody like, just go ahead and go to this place.
They could have made some shit out. Like, nobody would have ever known. And that's what I was saying. I was like, if I'm the brat, like, have other options.
Right.
Yeah.
I ain't gotta go to white man.
Right.
I love y'all white people, but like I ain't gotta go that route.
Right.
But and then she said like the black man that she did look at, he looked like Jiminy Cricket. So now she's saying that niggas look like Jiminy Cricket. And so the internet's blowing up and saying like now she has a mixed race baby because she didn't want her baby to be ugly because black men are ugly and the brat and what's her face? I can't think of her face now. And they're like, we didn't even think it was gonna go that far.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like we were just being funny because like they have a show together. Like, you know what I mean? But you can't say shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? And so like now they have a mixed race baby. Yeah. And like, I'm sorry, sometimes too ugly people can make a beautiful baby. Like an ugly and a nice looking person.
But a lot of times they don't.
You just don't know. Genetics go way back.
Times a negative equals a positive?
Yes, right. That's math, right? And so like what we were talking about before we started filming is just like genetics, like down the line. Like you just never fucking know. Right. So anyway, now they got so they want the white donor and the black people are like in an uproar because
especially the brat.
Yeah, the brat, right? It's right. Especially the brat. I was like, damn, bitch, like I love you.
What if she got paid to not got paid, but you know what I mean? Like kind of like another conspiracy.
Back to the conspiracy.
Where it's like, oh, if she's doing that, like other people look up to who have the option, look up to her. Oh, then it's okay for me to maybe do a white, donor or something like that. Like
I can't. Like I can't.
They're
like
diluting the race or something.
Yeah, I can't. And that's what I look at it as. Which is probably fucked up, but I look at it as a diluting of the race because y'all see my daddy, he black as hell. Like, right? Like my mom is like maybe Rudy's complexion.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's kind of lighter.
Like she's like more lighter skinned, and then me, like I consider myself like dark skinned, right? And I just like I said, my nieces. Anyway, it's just like I want babies. Like I want to produce like black babies. Like if like the Lord so sees it fit, put me in your fucking catechism prayers and whatever you pray to. Yeah. We ain't really talking about your religion a whole lot, but like whatever. Like that's what I want. Like because like I see myself as beautiful. Like despite all the weird shit that I've heard growing up here in Utah.
Oh, yep.
Like,
because it's so different and unique, but it's a good thing.
Yeah,
people just don't see that because it's like not what they're used to.
Yeah,
I've been told like weird shit, like like pretty black girl, blah blah blah. But like also people like it, like it's like it's almost like a weird fetish.
It's like a one or the other type thing.
Yeah, like right. So it's just like it's hard, like even like when you're dating, like it's just like. Really, you fuck with black girls? Like, you're just trying to be cool because, like, it's cool.
Because it's cool to have one.
Like, to have one.
Checklist.
Well, that's true though. Like,
did it, like
that's true because, like, on the opposite side of the spectrum, like being a brown skinned guy that's not black though, I was always kind of like in the middle.
My grandma thinks you're so cute. She's like, "Why don't you have a baby with him?" Like,
it would be. You know
like,
what, Grandma? It would be a cute baby.
Man.
It really would be.
Grandma, I was like, first of all, he's Mexican. I was like, he ain't black. I was like, he's got 2 kids already. And a baby mama, wife, girlfriend, person. I was like, and she's like, oh. She's like, what's okay? And that's the thing, like, at this age where grandma don't really realize, she's just like, well, that's okay. She's black too. And she's like, well, you just have black babies. So it's like, that's how it works, grandma. That's a good mindset. Like, that's how my grandma
They would be
thinks.
pretty, grandma.
Yeah.
So thank you.
But yeah, she thought you were black. I was like,
but that's the thing. So like, okay, like I've always been in that kind of like middle ground, right? Like I only had like very few like white women or even Latinas that were interested in dating me because I was too dark. It's always been the whole dad thinks you're too dark, type thing. And it's like, okay, whatever. I used to wear my hair really short, had fades and stuff like that. A lot of their dads thought I was either Pacific Islander or black. And so they would always kind of have that like, whoa, we can't have that kind of guy coming around. And I would introduce myself. I'm like, no, last name is Rocha. I'm, Mexican American. Like,
where's his brother at?
Yeah. Let me bring my brother. Let me bring my brother to the barbecue. Then you'll change your mind.
Like you got a nice smile too.
But yeah, like even like Latinas, like it was always like a thing. Like I'm too dark. My cousins always tell me I'm too dark. You know what I mean? Like I would always be. ostracized about my skin color. And so I was like, whatever, fuck it. But then, you know, I found out that a lot of sisters like me. Especially because like when I grew my hair out.
I think that likes me.
Especially when my hair would start to grow out and they'd be like, oh my God, you got good hair. Like, I'm like, I love this and I love them. And so it just kind of became the thing.
I like who likes me.
Yes, exactly. See, I like who likes me.
I got it.
So,
I got a question. Okay,
yeah.
Keep going.
But so flash forward, right, to having like my first child, my son. And even now, like
black woman.
Yes, they have
fully
my complexion.
black woman.
Yeah, they have my complexion.
Talked about that too.
They have my complexion, and she's lighter, right? Like in the summer, she's nice, she looks good. Mm-hmm. And, you know, in December,
crispy.
You know, around Thanksgiving to maybe Valentine's Day, she's on the light side. She's on the yellow side. She's on the yellow side, but
he's partaking in colorism.
but my kids came out with my complexion. Like they have my dark complexion, my dark brown complexion. And it makes me feel good because we're all the same tribe. You know what I mean? That goes back to what you were saying. Like you want kids that look like you. It gives me a sense of comfort. Like
I don't want somebody in the store being like, "Is that your baby?"
Yeah.
Yes.
And it, like
Roman will never have that problem with his children.
Yeah, and I do get that. I get that problem. I get that problem because like my hair's not kinky, right, and stuff like that. When it's long, it's a little wavy, but it's not kinky like theirs. They have black hair. And so I'll go to the store with both of them sometimes and I see the eyeballs. Like people can't help but look and they'll look and they'll kind of think like
should we call that 1-800 number?
Until they see the eyes and maybe like, oh, okay, they have similar eyes to him. He has kind of like those nice, like slanted little eyes. And they're like, they kind of
I ain't looking that close. Yeah. I just like, they have been kidnapped.
Yeah. But I do get those looks.
They're being trafficked.
Yeah, I do get those looks like, all right, you know, wait, hold on. Are these kids adopted? Like, you know, I don't get it. Like something's not adding up. Like the skin adds up, but the hair doesn't add up. Like I get that look a lot. But at the end of the day, like my kids don't know that they're mixed race, really. Royce is starting to get it.
How do they not know?
Well, even when he was a kid, and Mia's the same way right now. Well, he's still a kid, but when he was little, and Mia's the same way right now, because our skin tones match, they just think the whole household is black. And Lo will even slip up sometimes. And I remember one time Royce, it's funny because he'll say stuff like this a couple times, but when he was probably like 6-7 years old, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, well, you know what? Like, he's like, well, I don't care if, you know, somebody thinks that I'm too black. Like, I like being black and stuff like that. And Lo's like, your dad is Mexican. Like, you can't say that. Like, you can't be pro-black and like anti anything else because your dad's Mexican. You're mixed race. And he's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. Like, I'm like, son.
My daddy black.
Yeah. It's like sitting on my lap, dad, like, son. Dad is Mexican.
Look at grandma. Look at grandpa.
Yeah, look at grandma.
Like, we gotta have
look at Nana. Look at Auntie. Look at Tia. Look Uncle Roman. Like,
yeah, look at Uncle. And Uncle Roman made them just question and just Jesus Christ, like what is happening?
And like Mia doesn't get it. Like she just thinks because she's a little kid. She's 4 years old. She just thinks that okay, I love it because she just thinks that okay, well. Some people are different colors. Some people are other colors, but we're all still people type thing. And I like Royce will ask her, she's like, well, what are you, Mia? Like, what are we? And she goes, I'm black. And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, he's okay. What's mom? And she's like, she's black. And then she's like, well, what's dad? And he's like, he's black. But we all fit. Like the family fits. You know what I mean?
It's like aesthetically, that's what she sees.
Yes. So it doesn't feel, and then like, we just live our lives. Like I think about this all the time too, because there's so many people who in my life, like for me, especially dating pretty much exclusively black women, like I'll have guys who aren't black will tell me like, why? Like, why do you date black women? Like, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, we're all just people at the end of the day. Like my kids and me and their mom, we live our lives the same way you live your life. We wake up in the morning, we fucking have coffee, we eat breakfast, we do everything the same. But for some reason,
having coffee.
She's a coffee drinker.
Is she? Okay.
Sure. But for some reason, they think that, like, especially white people, they think that black people just live so differently. They just think that it's such a different way of living.
I mean, I drink coffee every morning. I used to see Lowe's drinking coffee every morning.
But the day-to-day thing. Just the day-to-day, just waxing.
I'd be waxing at a rapid rate if I was like if I was an esthetician like Lowe. I just wax and push like left and right. Just at a rapid rate.
I wonder if that's a good job.
But at the end of the day, there is a comfort of having children that look like you. There's a comfort of having kids who you can relate to. Because I've had
like you can relax a little bit,
and I
have to answer those crazy questions.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And I've had friends who are mixed race, and they've had the kind of like whole mixed race growing up dilemmas and conflicts. I've dated people who are mixed race, and they would tell me about like their mixed mother, or they're not their white or non-black mothers calling them the N-word or treating them different than their other kids because they were black. They were the black kid, and it's like,
my
wow.
dad dated someone who like that was white, who called her her mixed son the N-word.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, I can't respect her ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how could you ever say that? Right. And then I have other people in my life who are like, well, I'm not black, I'm mixed race. And like, I'm still trying to like wrap my head around like what that means like for mixed race people. But like in my head, like Mia, everybody black. Like, like your mama black, then you black.
Yeah.
Cause like, if you go in, like, I was listening to a podcast, like, it was Ebony K. Williams, and she was talking about like if you were Jewish, it was based off of
your mother.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So like if your mama Jewish, you Jewish. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
That's the
like,
Jewish question.
Yeah. Right.
That's why Jesus was Jewish, because his mother was Jewish.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, well, you go based off your mama. So like if we're going based off of like some of these women, like your kids are black. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and then like, you know, you get sprinkles of like the other and like not other, but you have to teach your kids like they're mixed race. Like, and I have cousins that are like, I'm not black, I'm brown, or I'm mixed race. And to me, and maybe this is ignorant of me, you're black.
Yeah. Like
your daddy's black.
Right.
Like that goes off your patrial line. If your daddy black, you black.
Right.
Like people aren't, and a lot of people actually think they're like Polynesian, actually. Like if you look at them, like you don't know what the fuck they are. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I like how you said that you need to know yourself before you could teach, your kids and others and stuff like that. And sorry for any shouting in the background with the babies and kids.
He's got whole ass children.
But, like there's history in like this town, like Ogden and everything like that. Like you've been kind of looking up and stuff too that like, we didn't know anything about and stuff like that. So I think I need to dig into my roots and stuff like that. Cause I only know a little bit about my grandparents' parents, but not too much. So, but yeah, what have you been finding out?
Yeah. So just like being involved in the upcoming Juneteenth festival, like we're just like our hope and our goal is to integrate more history into the festival. Yeah. So people can like understand the like robust history of like Ogden, because I feel like Ogden's always got like a bad rap, right? Of like being like ghetto or, like violent and all this, like it's all this other, like all this stuff about Ogden, right? But like we didn't know like the robust like Black history of Ogden, and like kind of working on this project for Juneteenth that is up and coming. They're like, okay, we'll figure out like what's going on. I'm like I didn't want to know that. I didn't want to do it. Like I was just saying, like people want to know more history, and then like once you speak up, then people like assign you to things, which is great because like I learned more about like where I come from, and like I always rub Ogden like hella hard, and like people are like, okay,
right. You want to do that?
Yeah. Are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, I know there's a reason. I just don't know why. But like through like research, talking to historians like Miss Sarah McClellan and Miss Betty Sawyer and just others, like I've learned that like African Americans in Ogden like was like essential to Ogden, to our Union Pacific Railroad, to a Union Station. Like without our labor and the labor of the Japanese and Hispanics. Like that's in one of my like blurbs that I put in there. So the blacks were working alongside of the Hispanics on the Union Pacific Railroad. It wouldn't have been possible, right? Yeah. So blacks were hired as newly emancipated slaves to work on the railroad because like now you can work, like, right? You're seen as somewhat of a person, right? Like you can have a job. And so like I've just been learning all this like robust history that I can honestly say like I didn't know about Ogden, but also makes sense to me as to like why I'm drawn to Ogden. People are like, why would you want to live here? I'm just like, I don't know, but I just feel like this is where I need to be. Like, you know what I mean? And like just doing this research has like shown me like, yeah, like we contributed a lot to like what this place is, like the Porter and Waiters Club in Ogden. So the Ogden Union Pacific Railroad was like a connector point, and that's why that's why it's called the junction, right? Because it was a connection point between the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific Railroad, right? And so that's where the junction came from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so a lot of entertainment came through here in Ogden. So like 25th Street was like the place to be. Yeah. Like if you were a person of color, especially if you were a black person, it was like the place to be. That's where you were accepted. That's where you could come without discrimination, segregation. Like they, you know, people still face segregation here in Ogden. But if you were on 25th Street, you were accepted. Like that's where, like that was kind of like the melting pot. Even if like the, you know, I can't remember what they were called, but they're basically people from Spain. Like that's where the owners of the
Basque
Porters
people or something like that.
The Basque. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Annabelle Weekly bought it from the Basque people. And she, you know, not Annabelle, she didn't buy it. Her husband did, but she was like the manager of it. She opened up a whole area for like where jazz players could play and like all of like the big, you know, the big name African American players would come through Ogden. So that's what I'm saying. Like our cultures are very much ingrained here in Ogden. So like it makes more sense to me, like where, like not why people call Ogden ghetto, but like that's
where it gets its kind of stigma reputation from
because
of this.
This is where black people were able to live and thrive and work. Right.
In Utah.
And now it's like
especially when Brigham Young was in charge, who historically hated anything that wasn't white. So
he was. So I through the research, I found that he was the one who was like, okay, well, we need to like switch up. Like we need to like make this like a port, basically, like Ogden. So he bought like 133 acres of like land,
that makes sense.
Like here, so that it could be a port like between here and hither and yon, like whatever, like whatever. I don't know the exact specs or whatever, but so in some weird way, like I hate to say it, like he did like make it possible for black people to come here to create a living
in a central location.
And then people knew like, okay, like if I want to get like my music out, my business out, like to be able to be in a place where I'm like, it's not going, like I'm not going to face this type of segregation. I need to go to Ogden, Utah, like, right? And people don't think of Ogden in that way. Yeah. I never thought of Ogden in that way, but I've always felt Ogden in that way. Yeah. But I didn't know it. Right. Like I've always felt it, but I didn't know it. And so like now, because of this, you know, this special project, like I'm learning, I'm just like, this makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? And everybody was like, Ogden's ghetto. Like, that's where like all the blah, blah, blahs are. Yeah. Like, no, like this is like where it started. Like, this is where like Black and brown people started, and even like the Japanese, right? Like, and the Asian people, they talk about them being the ones who started the railroad, who was like working on the railroad first, even before we got here to like work the railroad. They built the railroad, right? So it was just like a progression. So like, I don't ever want to take away from like our Asian American friends who built the railroad for us to be able to come in to work. And I'm just like, people don't even know that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people have no, like, people don't know that. And it just, like, made me happy to, like, to understand the vantage point that, you know, other people had back then of Ogden, to understand, like, where we are now. Like, so, like, why people say the things that they do now about Ogden.
Like, it makes you feel good to know these things and know why the history or where it comes from, because, you know, these things happen because of, you know, certain events. But then you have people who, like, probably don't care at all and, like, think, like, oh, well, you know, who cares if, you know, the Japanese did this or whatever, and then, you know, it's all, robots are going to do it in the future anyways or something like that. But no, like, this... Yeah,
added to the cultural aspect of this great city.
Yeah, like, I don't think, like, I honestly don't think people, like, know, like, the progression of it, right? Like, I feel like Black people, like, we have a tendency to, like, want to be, like, it's always, like, we want to be the first Black person who did this. But then, like, we also kind of fail to give credit to, like, like, people before us also. It's, like, while I was, like, writing these, like, little biographies or whatever, like, taking information from online, I'm just, like, I want to give credit to the people who were here before, like, right? Which is what, like, what we're always asking for, is, like, the, you know, the credit for the people who were here before. And so, because at the end of the day, like, we're all minorities, like, who contributed to this very lucrative system.
Because then ancient servitude, you know, people, they weren't doing that stuff like that. Like, they had, and then people who, slave owners, they got paid per slave that they freed and stuff like that. So they had a upper hand always.
So they said emancipated slaves. Okay. So, like, you were free, but they also weren't getting paid at the same,
treated different,
you know, you know what I mean? Like, you were free, but, like, we still don't see you as, like, a whole person, like, right? So, like, just, like, learning this, like, and I always said that, like, I was telling my new partner, I was like, I want to get out of Ogden. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to get out of Utah. Like, I just want to, like, be in a place where nobody bats an eye about me being Black or looking the way that I do. And great, you know, sure enough, she was just like, but, like, that's cool, but, like, why? Like, when you have a chance to like shed a light on Utah or, like, the place that you live for, like, the contributions that Black people made here, like, when you can continue that, like, you know what I mean? Like, otherwise, like, it might just, like, never be known. And I'm just like, dang, like, that's true, too. Like, maybe my lot in life is, like, shedding light on... Because, like, whenever you hear about Utah in the media or, like, on the radio, like, people are just, like... It's always, like, the Mormons, like, the church, like, all the weird shit, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with, like, you know, African Americans, Latinx people, you know, Asian American people, Pacific Islanders who contributed to building this place, like, right? So if people like me just, like, are like, I need to get out of here, then whoever knows. Like, right? So this gave me kind of a different perspective on, like, my role here. And, like, maybe what I can help people understand. And, so yeah, it's got me thinking a little bit different, and just, like, reading these bios of these people who did so much in the African American community and who worked with the Latinx community. Like, they were working together to, like, find common ground as minorities together. I'm just like, I don't want this city to lose that. Right. And I don't know like what my fate will be like later on in government, and maybe these podcasts won't help, but
or it will.
Or maybe it will. I don't know.
Gen Z might vote very highly because of all this.
Maybe. I don't know. But I'm just like, I do, and I need to forgive myself or like be okay with myself for like not knowing all this stuff sooner. Yeah. So I think like when you're a minority, like you feel like you should just know everything. Yeah. Oh, and like people expect you to know everything, and there's like no room for like, growth or improvement. But like through like this whole process, I've like, damn, like it's just like a lot I didn't know, and like there's so much like now I want to share like, with everybody about like Ogden, and I've always been an Ogdenite or whatever, or like drawn to Ogden, but like now I know why. Yeah, like you know what I mean. But it's also kind of like an erasure, right? That has happened over the years of the city, right? Like we've been kind of put on the back burner, but like when you start digging, like we built like this place, like what it is. So like
saying this was the first gentrification.
Yes, and it's further again being gentrified again, like Yeah. Like with all these apartments that are going up, like the pickleball courts, like shit like that. The Marshall White Center is going to be closed down.
So they're building a new one?
June 2nd, I want to say. Wow. Like it's going to be closed completely down.
We got to play one more game
rebuilt.
there.
Got to play one.
All right, if everybody watch this fucking episode, all the guys used to ball there. We got to go play one more fucking game, one more pickup game before they close it down.
Oh my God. Offline,
the window's closed.
If we can figure that out, like to have everybody just like come, like take a picture there. Yeah. Before like the old building gets like ripped down.
One more game, guys.
Like that would be
because amazing. I'm still in shape. I'm still wrestling. My cardio is still good. I could ball.
So, no, we don't care if we can ball. Like I mean, we care, but
we'll swim like one last time.
No, nigga, the pool's been broken for like 3 years.
We'll lift weights. Fee, Joshua, and Tia, you guys will be working out in the gym there at Marshall White.
I appreciate that. Today.
I appreciate you guys still using that facility.
We were on the line at Daily Rise.
You guys will be using the facility a lot. I see you brothers. Like, let's just go ahead and go one more hurrah at the old Marshall White building.
We need to figure that out because like that would be amazing because like also, like, I always, like, want to be authentic and honest. Like, I visited the Marshall White Center, like, very minimally, like, growing up, right? Because, like, I can admit that I had, like, a certain level of, like, access and privilege that maybe other kids in my class didn't. Other kids of color, like, didn't. Like, I never wanted for anything. I had grandparents, like, my parents, like, I never, like, really wanted for anything. Like, I lived out in, like, the Ron Claire area. Like, you know what I mean? So, the Marshall White Center, I knew it was there. Like, we went there, ever so often to swim or to do different things. But I also have friends who were there constantly. Right. Like, that was, like, where they went to feel safe, to... like after school, like, you know what I mean? I had people. So like, I never ever want to like portray myself as this like, person of color, a black person who was like, just like in complete poverty. Like that wasn't my life. Right. But I do have friends who didn't have access to the same things that I did. So like the Marshall White Center, not that it didn't mean as much to me, but I know that it meant a lot to other people. Right. Right. So, like, me now, as an adult, like, understanding that and realizing that and coming to, like, coming to those conclusions, like, it would be awesome to have those people, like, freaking Gustavo, like, you know what I mean? Like, even Paul, like, Akeem, like...
Buy your plane ticket, Paul.
Sasha.
Fucking buy the plane ticket, come out here for one last hurrah. Yeah. It's last minute.
Like, it's literally, like, it would have to be in, like, in the next week and a half. But, like, to get as many people as we possibly can whose lives have been impacted.
Maybe if it doesn't make the episode, maybe it makes the episode or not, we should fucking put that out as like one of the first events we do as Rich at Heart Podcast. Like, let's try to get as many people who are alumni of the Marshall White Center to go to the old Marshall White Center before it closes.
Because it's going to close.
We can create the Facebook group.
You can go on ogdencity.com on the website to see like the blueprints of like what it's going to look like. And it's completely different. It's way nice. Like, you know what I mean? But that's like not what everybody knows, right? Yeah. Like, that's not what everybody's going to remember. It's going to be a very different experience for people moving forward. And it would be amazing to see the Black and brown kids that actually benefited. So like, we know that like all of this like fighting for the Marshall White Center to stay where it's at, because there's a lot of conversation of moving it to like, well, it doesn't need to be there. Like, everybody can access it there, like blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like where it's at is like where it needs to be. Like, those are it's historical. That's where that's where it needs to be for people to access and to have, whatever, better outcomes or whatever it is. So like, I want people to see like, hey, we were this little, like when we first encountered the Marshall White Center, we're this old now and it means the same to us. Like, so we've had these conversations. So, I mean, we've been doing like a lot of different like things, but if we could just get even like a handful of people to say like, this center impacted our lives, like in this way, it won't be in vain. In the new center, like, we can say, hey, I started coming here when I was 6. Right. Like, you know what I mean? I'm 36 now. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm going to bring my kids here to get lessons and, be cared for here in the same neighborhood.
There's so much like historical aspects to it. Cause like, so me and Roman are kind of in that same kind of like tribe that you are. Cause we grew up in an area that it was accessible to us where it's at right now. But we moved to the Ron Claire area. And then we kind of didn't really visit a lot, but we'd go there sometimes because we had gone there a lot. Yeah. And it was always the place that people would go to kind of like the school after school type thing, especially during the summer, like teen thing and all that shit like that. That's where everybody kind of met up and so many memories were made and things like that. But the historical aspect of it, like all the old timers would always talk about, hey, George Foreman came here and trained here going to other fights. And he used the boxing facilities that the kids were training to box use. He used the same bags, speed bags, and all that stuff like that. Yeah, the heavyweight champion. Heavyweight champion of the world, George Foreman, Marshall White Center. Great movie. You know what I mean? And like, there's so much historical aspect in the city of Ogden with the Marshall White Center, and we didn't really get the full thing of it. Like, we would go off and on, and we lived in that area for a little time in our life, and we'd go often. But then, like, when we moved to the North Ogden, Ron Claire area, we didn't go as often. But we would still go sometimes because we had friends, cousins that would go there all the time. Yeah. And we would go, and we experienced the, like, community that was there. Because that was the
pool. Yes. Like, that was, like, the one area that had a pool. Yeah. And that's kind of what triggered this whole thing. Yeah. Like, the pool. Like, they found a major foundational issue in the pool. And they had to close it down because it wasn't safe anymore. And for inner city kids, like, they can't get out to like North Shore, like whatever is out here, Roy City Rec, like, you know what I mean? Like, they need to be able to be in walking distance of a pool. Like, it's a health issue, like, you know what I mean? So, the Marshall White Advisory Committee has done like a lot of work in just making sure the center stays where it is, located where it is, with the same name. Yeah. And offering a lot of the same and better resources than it did before to honor Marshall White. And one thing that I've learned over the last little while is like, there were other like African American police officers. Marshall White gets a lot of his accolades because he was killed in the line of duty during that time, right? But there were other African American police officers who maybe didn't get their just dues, right? So it's for them too.
Yeah.
But Marshall White's name is on it, which is also, you know, honorable as well. Like we don't ever want to take anything away from him, and we just want to keep that going and just keep Ogden what it's been. Willie Moore, just doing, you know, he was 90 when he stopped cutting hair.
Yeah.
When Frankie bought the place, like, and Paulina, right?
Yeah.
Paulina's, you know, that's Paulina's first cousin, like, right? Like, that's one of our really good friends. Yeah. He bought Willie Moore's from Willie because, like, he became really good friends with Willie Moore.
Understood the cultural aspect, the history.
He could have very well changed it to Frankie's or, like, whatever, but he, like, I was reading a story, like, when I was doing research about, like, someone brought in a watermelon, right? And I was just like, this is gonna be racist as fuck. But like Frankie was like saying how like he brought in the watermelon and they didn't have anything to cut the watermelon with. Like there's nothing. And William Moore was like, give me the watermelon. And he just like kind of cracked it over his knee and he gave it to Frankie and they just like started eating the watermelon together. And, you know, Frankie says like, you know, he is like a father figure and mentor to him. Definitely. So, like, there's no other way, like, than to, like, keep the name the same. Like, you know what I mean? And, yeah, Willie Moore came here. And he was a Globetrotter, too. Like, people don't know that either. That he was a Harlem Globetrotter. He wasn't just, like, a barber. His wife was a civic leader. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just all these things. And, like, I think that's, like, a real stand-up thing to Frankie. To, you know, keeping his legacy alive. And I think that's like one thing that he wanted to do posthumously to Willie Moore was like, he was one of the first Black owned businesses in Ogden. We have a few. Right. And for, you know, he's the owner, like, you know, he gets the money and stuff, but to keep that name alive, like it's a big deal. Yeah. So anyway, like in all of my research and conversations that I've had over the last little while, I'm just like, okay, it makes sense why I'm stuck here. And like, I've had people say like, you're just going to die in Ogden. You're just, like, you know, you just love Ogden. Like you're never going to get out and travel. And I'm like, maybe not. Whatever. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can travel other places, but this still be my home. Yeah. And then now I have a better understanding why like I have this draw to this place. Right. And maybe they didn't know that. And maybe that's why they said those things in that way. But like now, like as I'm learning, I'm just like, yeah, I want to make a difference here for people of color, you know, Latinos, Black and brown people, you know, Asian people, like whatever, everybody who contributed to like what this city is and why people feel comfortable here, because I feel like there's a comfortability in Ogden for people of all colors. And that's why, like, I want to contribute to that. So, like, before I'm like, oh, dang, like, I'm never going to get out of Ogden. Like, I suck. Like, you know what I mean? But no, like, learning this, I'm just like.
Yeah. And even the people that go out, they come back.
Yeah.
Like the people go out to other places because, you know, they're like, oh, I got to get out of Ogden. Yeah. They still come back.
Yeah. They come back.
You know, and we've lived outside of Ogden. We've lived in Vegas. That Vegas in itself is a very like high population Latino African American population. And I've been to it is a certain like realization, like when you go to a Walmart out there and there's more black people than white people and every cashier is either black or Latino and you're like, oh, wow. Like, this is great. You know what I mean? But then,
and
like
also
you said,
they have like ties to Utah. Like, it's like, oh, I'm from Utah. Like, oh, like me too. Like, so and so's from there. Like, So,
but in the same sense, like, if we were to move from here, we would take that kind of lineage out of here, where we can show the people that, hey, like, there's people from here that are like you, that, you know, share the same experience as you. And this is what we've built type thing. Right. So
I just want to like let everybody know, like, Ogden kind of gets shitted on in so many different ways. But if you just take the time to do the research and figure out who was here, when they were here, it wasn't just black people. it was Latino people.
Yep.
Like, so in one of my little passages, like it references like how we were working alongside Hispanic people, our Asian brothers and sisters. Like we were all working to make the city what it is. Like, you know what I mean? And there just aren't enough of us to shed the light on that, right? So Ogden is, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's getting a little gentrified, but it just makes me feel better about my decision to like be here and live here, to know that like we have a stake here, right? We have a stake here and we have a claim here, and we come by it honestly, as people who, you know, came from down south where segregation was very real, just wanting to, you know, find a place of peace and refuge. And I feel like a lot of African Americans, a lot of Latinos, like they found that here. And also just being a place where we're very close to the border, and, you know, what's happening now, like with immigration and things like that, like if we don't stand together, then like we're going to fall apart.
Right.
So, you know, there's this big conversation of like Black people like claiming like they're indigenous and like indigenous land and things like that, right? That's true. Like, right? But like we as Black people, like I'm going to say, like, don't ever take anything away from the indigenous people, right? Like, and that's the sordid history of America. Like, I don't know that we'll ever know exactly the sequence of like how things happen. But like, I don't want our indigenous brothers and sisters, you know, our native, right, to be upset with us for just figuring out like what our history is. But also, like, we shouldn't like start
real original history.
Exactly.
Dates back way.
But we shouldn't like take away from their history, like now that we're learning ours, like right? Because it was all fucking terrible.
Right. Yeah.
And my sister the other day, she said, well, what do white people have to go through? Like what was their hardship? I was like, the Holocaust was fucked up. Like it was cut off at a certain point. Jews, like 6 million Jews or whatever were killed. It was cut off, but like that was still fucked up. Like at the end of the day, like I guess they were still white people.
I guess they're white.
Semitic,
they're not white, right?
Semitic people, but I mean, I don't know. I still
like, you know what I mean?
They're still white. But they're not.
They call themselves Semitic.
Yeah. Like so, I'm just like, like that's a thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like we can't take people's experiences away from them, and I don't condone like you know African American people taking away the indigenous people's identity here in this. On this land, like we were all kind of here together in a different capacity, brought by different people, and kind of just like it's just like a pitted against each other type of situation. But at the end of the day, like we're all indigenous to this land, right? So
we're all born
like
here,
we just
raised
have to
here.
figure out like where we fit and not diminish anybody's existence, like right. So like I don't want that to become a point of divisiveness between the cultures, right? Because like we all contributed greatly to this country in one way or another. So yeah, it like all this is just like giving me a new perspective of just like living here, right?
For sure.
And you know, our Native brothers and sisters, our Latinx brothers and sisters, like we're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. Like we all face like terrible things. Like I don't ever want to play the oppression Olympics, but like we all know what was
we
like
know the history.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we all know what was what, but like we all know like what our contributions were. So
have you ever thought about doing like a 23andMe or Ancestry.com? Because you did the whole like thing through Weber State, like the African.
So I did the African Ancestry and I did a 23andMe, and it was like completely different. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So I did both of them.
Yeah.
So one said I was like 4% Asian. Yeah. It didn't say like what kind of Asian. Yeah. But I feel like the African Ancestry was more like pointed.
Right.
To like where I was from. So again, it goes down your matrial line.
That's pretty crazy.
So like I'm, my matrial line is like I'm Cameroonian, right? So like that's like where we came from. Like I don't know my paternal line. My dad would have to do that for his mother to find out like where they're from. But just like learning all of this, like we all had a part. Like, you know what I mean? And people just think of like slavery. Yeah. So there's another great thing.
Did you have any Native ancestry? Because I asked because like my friend who's married to a black woman, she did hers because they did it at the same time because it was like a thing for their kid. He's white. She's African American. He was 99.9% Irish, right? So like Irish to the fucking bone. But hers, because she, like most African Americans, they don't know a lot of their ancestry. She came like 45% like African, I can't remember where from, and then like 30-something% Native American. And so she's like a lot of Native American. And then a couple, certain percentage European as well, because that's just how it went, with the slaves and stuff. But she was so shocked to find out that she was Native American. And she's like, well, I'm black. Like, how could I have this? But it's just how it was, because they only brought like so many Africans here to the continent, right? And they integrated. And so that's why like Africans from Africa look different, and they also kind of segregate African Americans from being African because they're like, well, you guys are mixed.
It's
like
even
you guys,
now, like we don't identify with one another. Like you're African American, I'm African, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Ghana. Like we aren't the same. Like what I mean? So there's even segregation amongst us, like that people don't realize. Like, but in American history, if you're black, you're black. Like they don't give a fuck. Like if you're from Ghana, you're from Syria, you're from can't like wherever, like you're fucking black, right? So that's very much the narrative, is like people trying to figure out like where they come from, and it's hard. Like I told you before we started filming, like my girlfriend was like, well, you don't know this far back, and I'm just like, it's different. Like you know what I mean? Like we were taken from places, dropped in places, like so I don't know. Like I could have Irish in me, but to answer a question from 23andMe, there's like 4% Asian. From AfricanAncestry.com, I'm 97% African American. Like I'm black. Like you know what I mean? Like there's no like, deviation from that, which is for me, like I'm perfectly fine with that. But I remember in the class there was a white guy who he figured out he was like 3% like African, like right. He left the class. He was
really so
upset. Like he cussed the class out. He's like, "This is bullshit." Like this is like he could not reconcile that he could even be like 3%. Like even though like you would never be able to tell from like his appearance. Right. Blonde hair, blue eyes, like freckles, like all this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? But his ancestry came out and he was 3% African American in some sort. And he was like so taken aback. He left the class, like he caused the whole scene. And like that was, I think like maybe that was like the first time like I realized like, damn, like people really don't fuck with us. Like
it's crazy,
Like they can like live amongst us. Because like what I've been reading is like, here in Utah, people are like, it wasn't like segregation like it was in the South. Like people just didn't pay attention to black people. Like, right? Like it was just like a, you're here, I'm here type of situation. But can you even imagine that? Like, you know what I mean? Like just like not even being recognized. Yeah. So
still to this day, like, I don't know, you feel like you get like, not treated as well as other people sometimes. But I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely don't. And like, you kind of just have to, in the climate that we're in doesn't help. It's kind of, it just feels like we're going backwards.
Right.
Do you think that's the older people? Or I don't think the younger people are. Do the younger people partaking in?
I think it just depends.
Being unfair and like criticizing people by their race, or.
I think like what Rudy said, it depends on like who your parents are.
Like,
like,
people learn from their elders. Like people learn from their elders. Like I've thought that, like, because, like, you know, I look at the Zillennials or Gen Z people in our family. I'm like, oh, well, they don't have, like, that spectrum. They don't have that, like, you're this, I'm that type stuff. They're kind of, like, more open. But then you talk to people that are their same age, but they've come from a different, certain background, like in the workplace even. And it becomes an issue when you start talking. You get down to the core of it. And they're like, oh, well, like I said, like, some people that have asked me, like, why are you into black girls? They're Gen Zers or Zillennials, like, not millennials, but even on the cusp of being Gen Z. And I'm like, why the fuck are you asking me this? Like, you know what I mean? And it's not going to stop because that kind of mindset is passed down. It's passed down from people in their family who they relate to, who gives them that ideology. Just want to close out by saying, as always, like, thank you so much for tuning in, especially if you lasted this long. I don't know how long this episode's going to be. It's going to be chopped up. If it's two episodes long, thank you so much for listening to both. And I know you're out there. I know people are out there who do listen to these all the way through, or they'll listen to multiple. And I just want to say that I'm fully grateful for that you would choose to be with us for that amount of time. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, share with people. If you enjoy it, there's going to be people around you that enjoy it too. Yes. If you find something from this, there's going to be people around you that'll find something from it too. So go ahead and share it. You know, comment, please let us know your input. I've considered doing live videos of this too. I have a friend who just opened up a podcast, Utah Uncensored. Shout out to Derek Warren. He does his live. He's invited me to be on. I'm going to go ahead and do that for you sometime soon when I'm available. But it's just seeing the interactions on his, because it's live and the comments and stuff like that. Don't hesitate to comment on a certain subject or anything that we've talked about that pertains to you. We want to hear about it. We're human just like you. We can share experiences from our lives to help you with your life, vice versa. So, yeah, communication is big. You know, nobody will ever know what anybody had to say unless it was a shared thing. So thank you so much.